You guys might laugh at me, but something amazing has happened. So I was here at the witch farm getting, whoa, oh, there's more redstone in there. I was getting lots of redstone. You can see almost two stacks of redstone plus a little bit. And then I saw this thing. It's a skeleton horse. I've been wanting a skeleton horse in my world for so long, but I could never find a lightning strike that actually, summons multiple of them. And I don't want to go too far away because I'm not sure if that guy despawns, but I thought I saw another one. Oh, yeah, I think. Yeah, there's a skeleton on a horse over there. I hit the skeleton horse. Okay, well, so apparently he doesn't take drowning damage, which I didn't know that skeleton horses... I didn't know that's how skeleton horses worked, which is way more exciting. Wait, I might not have saddles. Oh, no. Oh, there's a lead. Okay. Oh, there's another skeleton horse over there. Oh man, I might actually get a few skeleton horses out of this. Boom. Hello. All right, 3. I think you can get 3 or 4 total. Oh boy, I gotta give a wide berth to the witches. They'll chuck poison at them. Oh boy, there's so many. Oh, the skeleton want their horse back. Come here. No, he hit the horse. Stop. Oh. Oh, there's a rabbit here. Oh, they're so fast. Yes. So my base is that way. There's a lot of water in between here and there, and I don't think you can put horses in boats. You might be wondering where all the boats are from last episode, and the answer to that is I died. That's why I was at the witch farm. Okay, there we go. The rabbit at least will stay there. You know, in fact, because these guys can survive in water, oopsie, don't want to do that. Because they can survive in water. Oh, how do you do this? I forgot you can leash boats now, which is pretty cool. Because they can survive in water, we may actually be able to just carry them like this. Seems like it's working. Yeah, they won't take fall damage because they're in water. And because they're skeleton horses, they don't drown. Okay, this is actually working. Nice. Oh, if you go too fast, you'll lose them. It's not really a problem since they don't drown. It's just annoying. Okay, so you have to go kind of medium speed. Gotcha. All right, I'll make a proper place for these guys later. There we go. 3 skeleton horses. That is super cool. And the rabbit, I'm worried about it despawning, so I'm actually probably going to leave it in the boat there. Haven't used this fishing farm in forever, but I definitely didn't get rid of what I got from it. A bunch of saddles. Oh yeah. Nice. I'll leave some grass for the rabbit to munch on. All right, so what are we doing today? To answer that, tell me, what does a basalt spire or a basalt column have in common with an amethyst geode? This is my amethyst farm. Floating end islands. And a lake. They all have something in common. And if you're like me, your intuition is telling you there's a pattern here. I know it. I'll give you just a second to think about it. The answer is that they are all features. Basalt pillar, amethyst geode, end island, and lake. Wait. Oh, that's right. It's called a spring. Spring water. So that's what we're going to be messing with today as we work on our long-term project, the custom space dimension. This is a little diagram I made. It's been a little while since I worked on this, so I don't know what kind of mess we're walking into. Oh yeah, this mess. Oh boy. So yeah, this is the space dimension. This isn't how it normally looks. Also, we're not floating. So apparently I need to fix gravity. So this is the command for adding gravity. You'll notice it's red now, and that's because in 1.21, they changed how this works. So instead of having a whole like here we had like a UUID and then a name, I'm pretty sure we only need the name now, which is way nicer. It also means instead of having to remember a long string of digits when we're trying to remove it, we can actually just use the name. Yeah, so very much more convenient. Okay. Aha! No gravity, we're floating again. Nice. Okay, things are back to normal. We can actually deal with the mess, and this mess is actually made from features. So if we just zoom out a little bit here, you can kind of see what's going on. You can see there is some like ups and downs. It's sort of matching the terrain, this red stained glass. And in case you haven't guessed it, the reason it matches the terrain is it's actually an air pocket. So in this imaginary, oh no. Oh look, an alien. Okay, I guess we need to fly away. Oh man. So in our imaginary dimension, Sculk generates oxygen. We need oxygen to breathe, even though the oxygen bar isn't going down. Maybe that's broken or something, or maybe I was testing, I don't remember. At any rate, the feature, this red stained glass, is obviously the answer. We can generate all along the top of the Sculk so that we have an air pocket that we can go to breathe. Except it's not quite that simple. This is more complex terrain, and you'll notice that the red stained glass does not fully surround the Sculk. Like just for a moment, imagine you're here, you're running out of oxygen, you're like, Sculk, finally, I'll be able to breathe. But because it's not where the red stained glass got placed, or, you know, air in the future versions, like you would get here and you wouldn't get your oxygen refilled. And you'd be like, but there's Sculk right here, that should work. So we have a pretty big issue, and we need to refine the feature so that it can cover fully the Sculk here. So this red stained glass, this is replace single block, not black, replace single block. And because this starts with R, this is red stained glass, we're gonna look at a couple other features with some different colors of glass to see which is the best. So let's save and quit. So depending on which feature we use, it can take longer to generate. So I won't make you sit through that, but I will let you know which ones are slower and fast. So this is blue stained glass, and I may have messed something up because I think it's blue stained glass everywhere. Yeah. There's always one big mistake. Okay, so this is only partially better. I tried adjusting some settings and this looks pretty similar. I mean, you could argue it is totally surrounding the Sculk. It's also surrounding everything else, so maybe we'll move on to the next one. Blue seems like a bit of a flop. Now, this one is a bit better. So this is disk. It sets a disk. Oh, yeah, like this is a pretty good example. You can see there's sort of like a radius of 3 around this, and it just sort of makes a disk. It covers pretty good. There's a couple spots where it's missed. So it's missed here, it's missed over there. But overall, I mean, it's covered a lot more area. It's not perfect, but it's a lot more consistent. So this might be more workable. I also thought this one was more lag inducing, but it didn't really take that long to load. So this disk might be all right. This is actually how ores are generated. It's ore blobs. So you'll notice the shape is like a little bit more organic. And the consequence of that is there's more holes. I mean, this is maybe better than the first option, but it has a lot more holes on the floor than the other one did, so. No. Oh, this was how the blue one was supposed to look, sort of diamond at the Sculk intersections, but it's missing way too much. That's not it either, but I'm noticing a pattern. The spots it's picking are similar. We've encountered a flaw in my logic. You see, I want precision, but the way that the game places features, like these Sculk patches, for example, that you would find in the deep dark, it places them randomly. The game is designed to place features randomly, not precisely. And if you notice, this is me trying to place a column of these red stained glass. And there's holes in it. Every so often, there's holes, and the holes are at different places. So I can't even place like a singular pillar of air blocks, much less spread it out across each chunk. It's per chunk. That's why there's just one of these pillars per chunk. You can see that this pillar crosses over into the next one. So we need to change how it places things, really. Or we need to go with the disk thing that covers up most of the problems. It won't ever cover up all of them, though, as we can see. Like, this is a huge hole right here. And no disk is going to be big enough to fill that. So, I wonder if we can fiddle with the placement stuff. Because ideally, we want to place a red glass block in every single block of the chunk. So I guess let's just see if we can make a singular column. If we can make a full column, we might be able to make a full chunk. So we'll start here. So to break this down for you, we're going to do something. Oh, stop it. We're going to do something a little bit weird. So what I'm showing you here is step one of how features are placed. Before they get like spread over an entire column, like in our situation, we specify a count. We can specify up to 256, which means that it picks this location, which for a chunk is by default in this corner at the very bottom. So effectively it picks this spot 256 times. And then we can spread that up into a column. But as we saw before, 256 wasn't enough to fill in the gaps because of the randomness. Unfortunately, 256 is also the max you can set count to, except you can specify a second count, and this count will be specified for each one of the 256. So we could specify effectively 2 tries for each 256 and see if that fixes our column problem. I think it helps. I don't see as many big gaps. That's the biggest gap I saw. Or I see, yeah, like that one and maybe one over there. That's like 3 blocks instead of like the 6 or 7 it was before. So that did help a little bit. So we can kind of cheese it. I mean, technically the game is calculating more positions, which is not good. Okay, I set the count to be 10. The second one, that is. I suppose I should turn off chunks, huh? Whoopsie. There we go. I do not see any holes. Okay, that seems pretty consistent. I mean, it's more expensive in terms of generation, obviously. Because the more positions we pick, the more the game has to calculate while generating, right? But we can try spreading these out across the chunks now. All right, this was very slow to generate. And there's obviously holes. Yeah, we got a column hole here and one here. And everywhere that there isn't red stained glass means there's no check, which means we don't get the precision we want. So if we want to defeat the randomness, we need a full box of red stained glass with the feature placement. Okay, this took an extremely long time to generate. Very, very long, concerningly long, but it looks like it worked. I can't see any holes anywhere. So after adding the sculk check in, yeah, you can see how long it takes to generate. This is potentially concerning. Like, it's generated 3 chunks here and it's struggling to generate more. So it's not the best solution. It does work. It is struggling so hard. I've been waiting for a while and it hasn't loaded. So I can't quite tell if this is actually going to have glass on it or not. I don't think so. I can't believe after all this slow loading, it's gonna miss spots. And looking now at it, there's sculk that's generating on the outside of the glass. The sculk is supposed to generate before the glass, right? And then we put the glass afterwards because that's the air pocket. But if the sculk generates after the glass, then it will miss spots. So if this sculk is also generated after the glass, maybe that is where the problem is. Precision versus optimization, man. It takes so long to generate. I had to turn it off because we're about to do something different here. I'm going to need to think about that, I think. But these are our current asteroids. They are, well, I was limited by what I knew how to do. Basically, this is what you get if you don't use features to make asteroids. But we're going to try making asteroids using features. Now, in the just space biome here, I'm going to try our new asteroids so that we can compare and contrast. And I'm going to start off by trying these end islands. I just put the normal ones in, and they can get transformed into sculk stuff just like everything else around here. I was curious with how many islands we would get if I just use the default. We can actually customize it if we want. Looks like we got 2. Oh, that's not an end island. That's a spaceship. I see 2. We generated 2 end islands. That's not very impressive. If you haven't seen this before, we have jigsaws that are spaceships. And they have like loot in them and stuff. And they can get like corrupted, so they turn into shulker type things. But yeah, I gotta say, 2 end islands. That's pretty weak. We need to bump that up a little bit. And we can use what we learned before, because effectively each of these end islands gets placed where a red stained glass would have been. So we can just do the whole like count, height map, and whatever, and see how many we get. Whoops. I forgot to change the feature that it places. So this is the feature from before. It's just placing the red glass. So each red glass literally would be an end island. Now this is more like it. These are more round, so they make a little bit more sense as asteroids. They're flat on the top, which is weird, so we probably won't want these to be our only asteroids. This is way too many still. But it's a lot easier to go down with how many things we're placing than it is to go up. But yeah, we can kind of compare. So we have this like platformy style of, get out of here. But we got these like line type asteroids and then these like platform ones. So that's definitely an interesting comparison. Oh yeah, this is more what I was thinking. Like there's obviously a lot, like anywhere you look, you can see a ton, but there's a lot more space in between them. Much preferable, much preferable. Now end islands are definitely cool. From the bottom, they have that round shape like that you would expect from an asteroid. But from the top, you know, super flat, kind of weird. It's like, what's going on here? Why do all the asteroids have their top shaved off? Kind of strange. So I think that there's another asteroid we can add here. And this one is a little bit more interesting. You remember how we were talking about the amethyst geode, right? Oh, I can't place it here. I guess we'll just use this for demonstration. So if we have an amethyst geode, right, they're hollow in the center, but they're very, very round. Round is the shape we want. So, okay, that's nice. Let's use an amethyst geode. But there's some additional stuff that amethyst geodes have, which we can take advantage of. So if we have, let's say, the geode and it's made out of sculk. Well, inside the geode, we can actually specify a different block, I believe. So we can potentially line the inside of the geode with, I don't know, iron ore, like diamond ore rarely, you know, things like that. So we can, not only can we have a more proper like round shape, but we can actually hide valuables inside of them sometimes. Now that sounds great in theory. Time to see how it plays out in practice. So I thought there was like, you know, 4 or 5 options with geodes. You know, like that outer layer, middle layer, that, wait. Oh, yeah, there's even more layers than I thought. Yeah, so there's 20 options total for these geodes here. So we have quite a bit of control over how they display and look, and the pink inside of the, or I guess purple inside of the sculk looks really cool, I gotta say. We might just keep that or make it rare or something. I don't know. It looks really cool. But like from the outside, the geodes are a lot more asteroid shaped. They're not perfectly round, which is actually really good. They're kind of oblong, and that just gives it a slightly more irregular shape, which I think is is good for the look of things. So one of the coolest things we can change is the radius of the geode. Look at this really irregular structure on this one. The walls are a lot thicker. Oh, I adjusted it so it's deep slate ore now, so that there's like deep slate inside, and then the ore type is the deep slate. And then very rarely, this is where the budding amethyst would be. Very rarely it will place like a block of the type. I could also make that raw iron, which maybe would make more sense, not sure. So this is pretty cool. I feel like this is worth messing around with. Not to mention it'll be another thing in our dimension to give us a reason to come here, which is really important for making this. You know, we want this to be a place that we want to go. You know, there should be resources, although this seems like overkill. I feel like you find a you find a place like this and you're like, all right, cool. I'm set on iron now. Now this is more like it. All right, so I made the ore slightly more rare. Wow, you just have so much control over this. So we get some raw iron, we can get some iron blocks in here. Mostly it's all deep slate. There's a layer of tuff to sort of go between the end stone and the deep slate as well. I actually thought about making this deep slate cobble because it kind of fits the tuff and the end stone better, but it's probably okay. But yeah, look, this is an iron asteroid that we have here. This is pretty cool. You'll also notice there's no opening on this one. I can actually take away the chance for a crack to appear so that you have to actually dig into it and figure out what it is. Because if we have multiple things like redstone, iron, we want it to be a little bit of a surprise. Like you have to dig in and figure out like, oh, it's just iron, you know, next asteroid. You know, it keeps you in suspense just a little bit while you reach in here to figure out what you're after. Okay, just space is now back to being just space. I moved all the new asteroid stuff over to the appropriate biome. And let's get our first look at the new asteroids biome. Totally removed those skyscraper tall structures. And it seems that instead I've made a wall of... Oh, I almost forgot. I left the land masses in. That's why it looks so funky. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Look at this. All right. I got some weird shaped asteroids finally, but they're still like, I don't know, boulder-like somewhat, but they're a lot smaller. And then there's some where they get stuck together and you get really, really large asteroids, but they're still like not a landmass. Yeah, so there we go. That's pretty cool. That's a really cool use of features. I think we should add in our original feature we were working on. No joke, I've been sitting here for like, I want to say 4 minutes, just letting this single chunk load. Like, this is way too slow and still is missing a ton of sculk. It's weird because it seems like some chunks do better. Like this chunk, it figured everything out. But this chunk, it just could not, like, it doesn't understand. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it could be that the sculk patch starts here and generates back into this chunk after this chunk is already finished. And therefore the red doesn't actually come and, you know, get processed here. Yeah, there's a lot of chunk borders. I suppose that could be what's happening. Oh, tell me, what does sculk have in common with a grass patch like this? Well, you know, yeah, they're both features, but they can spread backwards across chunk borders. But better than that, they render significantly faster because a vegetation patch, which is what this feature is called, such as this, it only needs to pick like a single position, say right here. And then it just does vegetation spread logic to cover a whole sculk area. So that is significantly faster to load. By the way, the orange is the ground block. So these would be sculk. These would end up as sculk and the red would end up as air like before. So vegetation is nice when it's on top, but what do you do about the bottom? Oh, wait, there's a surface setting that you can have to be flute, floor, or ceiling. Oh, would you look at that? Now it covers the bottom and the top. And you might say, well, those red blocks, they really don't look like enough space for, a human to walk in. My head's above that spot. But what if we use the disc placement from earlier? Now the gray would be breathable air. And this, remember the orange is where sculk would be. Now even if it misses a little bit of sculk, there's still a big radius of breathable air around it. You'll notice it is not perfect, but it is very, very, very good. I'm not gonna kid you, it took me a really long time to find a feature that would work. I went through the whole list multiple times, and it wasn't until I realized this had a ceiling and a floor feature that I was like, oh, maybe we can use that. But it does a really good job, and it's so much faster to generate. We're only generating 256 tries per chunk instead of 256 times 256 times 10 times 10, which is what it was before. Which is definitely contributing to why it's rendering faster. Yeah, so these patches are few and far in between, and then they tend to be very, very, very close to where you can breathe. So really happy with that. I think it's worth the trade-off. Perfection, well, it's perfection. We have to balance between perfection and optimization, and I'm really happy with this balance. And look at that, what a cool biome we've created. Asteroids everywhere, we can mine and get resources from them. We have breathable air surrounding our alien vegetation, and pretty reasonable generation all around. So there you have it, features in custom dimensions. I hope you learned a little bit of something about them. They're not talked about very much, and they're really cool, really powerful, as you can see if you're making any custom dimensions or even custom biomes attached to a regular dimension. I mean, theoretically, you can even just use the place command with these things. So I suppose you could just use it in a regular project too, but anyway, that I think is going to do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a lot of fun to make. I'm really happy we have a working solution for the air. That has stalled this project for a lot longer than you may realize. So yeah, definitely a cool solution, but that'll be all from me. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.